Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar here. We're just going to give a few more minutes for everyone else to trickle in here, and then we'll get started. In the meantime, I'm going to start this poll. So I'm going to launch this here. You should see some poll questions just pop up on your screen there. Please go through these poll questions and answer these, and we can share the information at the end of this webinar here as well. And if you do have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to add them to the question box there. You should see questions and answers. We have a question box as well. And we can get to your questions at the end of this webinar. We'll make some time for that. So we're just going to give a few more minutes for everyone else to trickle in. In the meantime, please go through the poll questions. Thank you. Awesome. So I think we got quite a few of us in here now. Just a few housekeeping items. You know, if you just jumped on, there is some poll questions there. So please make sure you answer those poll questions. And throughout this presentation, at any point at all, if you have any questions whatsoever, please throw it in that question box that we have there. We will have some time at the end of this webinar. We will address as much of these questions as we can. So please, feel free to throw it in there. But okay, well, let's jump right into it then. You know, first of all, I want to say welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's webinar here. I am Sam. I'm the head of sales here at Zaui, and I am very excited to be here with you alongside our fantastic co-hosts, Anna from GetYourGuide and Victor from Zaui. We've got an insightful session lined up today, packed with strategies and trends to help you thrive in a dynamic world of travel and tourism. For those of you unfamiliar, Zaui is a reservation system, and we are dedicated to providing tours and activity operators with tools that they would need to simplify their operations and create a seamless booking experience. And today, we're absolutely thrilled to be collaborating with GetYourGuide, one of the largest global online marketplaces dedicated to experiences. They've built a reputation for helping experienced creators and operators just like yourselves connect with millions of travelers all around the world, boosting bookings, streamlining operations. And today they'll be offering you some very actionable insights based on actual data. And I am especially excited to introduce you Anna Cashman, who leads the B2B brand at GetYourGuide. Anna is a true expert in marketing and brand building with a remarkable portfolio that includes campaigns from the biggest names in the travel industry, from Disneyland to the Vatican, and destinations ranging from California all the way to Kyoto. And Anna is also very, very passionate about data. And today you're going to see a little bit of that passion as she presents to us the insights from GetYourGuide's biannual travel experience and trend tracker that was released just a few weeks ago on September 30th. This report highlights the latest trends shaping the travel experience market and will give you some invaluable perspectives on how you can position your business for success. So you are going to be in for a treat here. So make sure you got your pens and papers out, and I guess your notepad app if you're more new school, because there's going to be a lot of fantastic information here, actionable information, industry insights, and there will be a lot of takeaways. So I really hope you enjoyed this webinar as much as we enjoyed putting it together for you. But yeah, so without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Anna, and she's going to give us a quick rundown of what GetYourGuide is. Thank you so much. And Anna?
Thank you so much, Sam. I would like to bring you to all of my meetings for you to introduce me. That was a glowing introduction. Good morning, everyone. I imagine everyone here is in the Northern Hemisphere. My name is Anna. I'm the Brand and Insights Lead at GetYourGuide. I'm actually based in Berlin, so it's my 6 p.m. But I hail from Australia. So for the next 30 minutes, you have to deal with my bad accent. I apologize for that. I'm going to spend just 1.5 minutes talking about GetYourGuide in case you've never heard of us before. So GetYourGuide is a marketplace. We're an OTA, and we're on a mission to connect operators like you with, like Sam said, millions of travelers all around the world so that you can continue to deliver unforgettable experiences. We are the largest pure play experiences OTA in the world. We have the highest downloads of our app. We've sold, in our 15 years of existence, we've sold tickets to 150 million customers around the world. We have currently 170,000 experiences listed on our platform. We operate in 35 languages in over 200 countries. So just to give you an idea of our scale, we're pretty big. And we didn't get this big by sheer luck. We are also a marketing force. So last year alone, we delivered around 8 billion impressions across 20 of our own marketing channels. Our website receives about 100 million hits per month. and we have 3 million active users on our app. And this is how we've, really cemented our position in number one in terms of in the number one spot in terms of OTAs. But the other thing that maybe not everyone knows is that we have a huge affiliate network. So here you see 5,000 combined brand and affiliate partners. Actually, in terms of affiliate partners, it's in terms of really big brands, it's around 2,500. And then our influencer network and affiliate creator network is much, much more. So it's around 11,000. And altogether, it's not just our distribution channels that we leverage for partners like you guys, it's these partners as well. And these partners are really big. So everywhere from online publishers to OTAs to airlines, transport, and platforms. We have some of the biggest brands in the business who trust us to push experiences to their partners too. And in terms of our content creators, we work with macro and micro and mega influencers all around the world in 50 countries. So we are pretty big, but I'm obviously not a salesperson. This is not why I want you to know about us. I want you to know about us because we are useful. And the reality is, when it comes to these marketing strategies, everything that we do and all of our strategy is backed by data. And that's really what I am here to talk to you about today. The data that I'm going to present to you is proprietary research. We put this out biannually. So this is the fourth wave. This will be the fourth wave officially that we do this. And it combines 3 sources. So the first is market research. So this is a quantitative survey where we ask people about their travel preferences, right? We do it for 6 markets. All in all, around 6,000 people respond. So it is statistically significant. But because people are famously bad at remembering what they have done and predicting what they will do, we like to corroborate our data, our marketing research, with real numbers. So with financial data from Earnest Analytics, this is North American data, so over 20 million data points or financial transactions we've looked into. And of course, GetYourGuide platform data, so actual bookings. And like Sam mentioned, this report was released on the 30th of September. And it's actually the first time that I'm presenting it in full to anyone. So you get the full walkthrough. Now, like I said, we use all of this data ourselves as well, right? This informs all of our own marketing and brand strategy. And actually, the topic of this research is indeed that. It's about marketing strategy and brand strategy, because that is the one thing that we continually got asked. So whenever I spoke to operators, when I was at events or on the ground in market, people are always like, I really want to understand better how you do your marketing to help me inform my own. So that's why we went away and did this. And ultimately, we want to share this with you because, frankly, if you're successful, the industry is successful, and then we and Zaui too are successful, right? So I'm going to start with a snapshot of the industry. I want to give you a bit of context first. And then I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into some trends. So the first graph that I want to share with you is like a macroeconomic look at experiences globally. And I think, I want to start with the truth. And that is, for a lot of people, it hasn't been the year that they were expecting, right? Since 2023, since last year, we have seen a deceleration of growth in the travel industry, right? So there has been an overall contraction of around 2% in the past 12 months. And note, like I said, this is US spend data, but data from Deloitte, from Ipsos, strongly confirms this trend in Europe and APAC too. So, we understand, it might not feel the best right now, and it might not look particularly optimistic. And it is affecting all travel verticals, right? So from OTAs to accommodation to flights, experience as a whole. But if you just look at this, then you're missing the bigger picture. So when we zoom out, we see a much more interesting narrative start to develop, right? So here, what you're seeing is a preference or consumers' predilection over time, year over 5 years. So this starts in 2019 to now, for experiences over things, right? And this has been a consistent shift over many years, with the exception, obviously, of COVID, because during COVID, no one could experience anything. And this shows that this broader trend, right? We heard about it for a while, right? Like experiences over things. This is actually the case. And people are voting for experiences with their dollars, right? We want to do things that are aligned with our passions. And so experiences, including, of course, travel, are much more resilient, even in the current recessionary environment, even more, for example, than goods like electronics or house improvement or anything else you can think of. In fact, the only other two most resilient spending buckets are essentials, housing and groceries, right? Because you got to have a house, you got to have a roof over your head, people got to eat. But travel literally is growing in all verticals at a rate that is truly unprecedented year over 5 year. And drilling down even further, so if we dig into experiences spend especially, here you're looking at the index growth for different verticals within the travel industry since 2019. So what we see is that hotels and flights, they're seeing more modest growth, right? Flights has only, inverted commas, gone up by 4%. Travel experiences on the whole has gone up 59%, but OTAs, which represents pure travel activities, has grown by 188% since 2019, which makes it the fastest growing travel vertical of all verticals. And this is really, really good news for our industry. So this year, right now, might not look so great, but on the whole, actually, it is extremely positive. And if you think about travel is characterized by having really, really long planning windows. So all travel planning that's happening now, the appetite that we are still seeing is only set to exponentially expand in 2025 and beyond. So this is really good news for our industry. And it also means that we need to get ready and we need to understand who is doing most of this spending, okay? And there are people who are perpetuating this spend and this trend in particular. They're like the super bookers of travel. We at Get Your Guide call them explorers, right? So they secure the baseline spend and they're really the strongest force, I would say, in our collective shift for experiences over things. And what this graph shows you is that, so we asked a cohort of these travelers, like, what do you do when you go on vacation? How many of each of these things did you do? And explorers, without fail, did more of everything, from the biggest, most iconic leisure attractions to the smallest workshops in secondary and tertiary cities, right? So they have an appetite for travel and experiences that is far superior to sort of standard travelers, right? We as a brand, as Get Your Guide, we focus on them, right? These are our design target. Our whole proposition, our whole brand is designed around them. And you as providers of experiences should probably focus on them too, right? Because they're gonna be the people who come to you the first and the most. So at this point, people probably ask me, okay, well, what then defines an explorer? Give me their age, sex, location. I want their stats. And this is the moment that I have to break the bad news. And I tell them that demographics are a terrible barometer for how many activities someone will do. And actually, demographics are kind of an archaic way to be thinking about your marketing strategy. And I want to give you this one analogy. I want you for a moment to imagine two people. Picture, please, the King of England, King Charles, and Ozzy Osbourne, who is the front runner for a band called Black Sabbath. Maybe you've heard of both of them. Now, these two people, let's talk about their demographics. They were both born in 1978. They are both white. They are both male. They are both British. They're both married. They both have kids. They are both divorced. They are both remarried. They are both rich. They are both famous. They both live in a castle. Demographically, the King of England and Ozzy Osbourne, i.e. the ex-prince of, they even have the same name, an ex-prince of the country and an ex-prince of darkness. They are the same people on paper, but I think we can appreciate that Ozzy Osbourne and the King of England are quite different people, right? So this is where demographics really fall short. So instead of demographics, what defines an explorer, going back to travel, it's really about psychographics, right? The thing that defines an explorer is not age, background, family makeup. It's a set of values that they share. For them, travel fulfills a higher purpose, right? So it's not demographics, it's psychographics. And those values are the following, right? All explorers have an intrinsic need to connect with others, to connect with a place, to connect with themselves. They value authentic, immersive experiences that leave a lasting impression. They're not the kinds of people who are going to drive by, the Eiffel Tower and take a selfie and move on. No, these people want to scratch beneath the surface. They want to maximize their vacations by seeing new things, eating new things, and coming home with memories that really last a lifetime, right? And for this reason, explorers are avid planners. This is where the behaviors come in, right? They want to take care of all of the details themselves. Their vacations are precious. They're not going to hand over their precious vacation for someone else to take care of. No, they want to do it themselves. And for that reason, they research far in advance. And what they do is far more important to where they stay. And that is why they do more of every single type of activity, if I just go back, when they travel, right? So the question I would be asking if you at this point is, okay, well, if it's not age, sex, location, and they do more of everything, what makes them choose me, right? What are the conditions? What are the criteria, the parameters that make them choose my experience over a different experience? And how do I market to them, right? Now, what we found in our research was that there are many factors, in fact, that do influence activity choice. A lot of them you can't plan for, right? Weather, time, energy. Is my 4-year-old throwing a hissy fit right now? That's the stuff you can't plan for, but there are factors that you can. And they are these 3. First, how far are you traveling, right? Are you driving or are you flying over oceans? Second, who are you traveling with? And third, where from? And that, okay, technically is a demographic. I get it. But where you're from has a really big influence on your media preferences and your cultural landscape. And so this will impact what you choose to do. And essentially, these are the 3 things that I'm going to walk you through so that you can develop an understanding and have a better idea about how you can build your own marketing strategies to really tailor and speak to the people that you need to speak to. Before I dive into the differences, though, there is some good news. And that is there are some things that remain the same. In fact, there are 2 things that remain the same. First is that, and like I already mentioned, right, explorers, no matter who, no matter where or what, explorers research using many and multiple sources, right? They are mainly online. OTAs are a really, really big or a really significant part of that. In fact, they're growing the quickest. And it's not just choosing one of these, it's using all of these resources because they love to plan and they want to research. They want to find the best possible option. This will always be true. The second thing that is true for everyone is that we are all human, right? We all kind of have monkey brains in the end. And this is marketing 101, right? The more places something shows up, the more likely we are to remember it, and the more likely we are to trust it. It is as simple as that. So if there is one thing that you write down from this presentation, okay, get out your pen, let it be this: multiple sources, repetition. You need to cross multiple platforms to show customers that they should choose you. And this is why connectivity partners like Zaui are extremely important because they are your path to multiple distribution, right? Same with OTAs. Okay, now get into the fun stuff, get into the differences. I'm going to start with German because that's where I'm based. So Germans, the backgrounds. Germans are the most price conscious of all of the source markets that we interviewed. They are also the most likely to read the newspaper and the online news. They're an educated bunch, let's say, or they like to feel like they're educated. They use the fewest social media platforms, which didn't surprise me. But they are particular. It doesn't mean they don't use any social media, right? Of course, they use social media. The social media format that they prefer actually is IG Reels. So they were really big on them. They, because they're price conscious, probably love to compare products and activities online and their value to make sure they're getting the best possible deal. Now, no, this doesn't mean the cheapest price. Value is price to quality ratio. So it's not like they're going to they're trying to spend the least. They're just trying to make sure that they're getting the most bang for their buck. In terms of the types of experiences they did the most of, city walking tours was the activity that they said that they did most in the past 12 months. Now, moving across the pond to the home of Ozzy Osbourne and King Charles, the British. The Brits love, honestly, television obsessed. They watch a huge amount of live and stream TV in particular. When it comes to research, and they also follow television on social media, so all of their shows they follow online. I find that interesting. To research activities, again, besides search and OTAs, which are going to be the biggest ones for everyone, right? They over-index using DMOs, so destination marketing organizations, and also hotels and airlines, right? So this is one of the reasons that Get Your Guide spends a really big amount of time and energy in partnering with hotel groups and airlines like Lufthansa, British Airways, Air Canada, this kind of thing. In terms of activity types, they were most likely to have visited a leisure attraction in the past 12 months. Moving over to the Americans. Now, the data doesn't lie. Americans are all about newness and entertainment. They're adventurous, they're outgoing. They were the most likely of all cohorts to want to be the first to try new things. In fact, 1 in 3 said that they wanted to be the first to try new things. They want a brand to entertain them. And that might be why they use the most social media and were the most likely actually to engage with a branded video, which as an Australian with no social media accounts, I found that absolutely bananas. When it comes to researching activities, no surprises here. They over-index in social media, which of course includes influencers, right? Celebrities are a really big thing in the States, entertainment. And they over-index on national parks in terms versus other countries, which makes a lot of sense. They do a lot of domestic travel. There are lots of national parks there, right? They were also the least likely to have done a bus or boat tour, and together with the Brits, were far less likely to have done a walking tour. So the Europeans like to walk, the Americans, the Brits, not so much. Like I said, the data doesn't lie. Okay, moving over to the French. The French are like the antithesis to the Americans. They feel that they were impervious to brand content, right? They watched the most TV on a traditional television set, but also felt that, they were not swayed by TV ads at all. Quick note here. This is a great example of the shortcomings of market research, right? And this is always why we try to back up our findings with booking and financial data. Because Get Your Guide did branded TV spots in France, and our brand consideration went absolutely gangbusters. So, they say that they're not swayed by television, but take it with a grain of salt. You know what I'm saying? The French want a brand that listens to feedback. And when listening to, when researching, activities, DMOs stood out for them as well, maybe because destination marketing organizations are seen to not be too salesy, right? They seem to be sort of anti-sales. In terms of activities, museums and monuments were the most frequently cited in the past 12 months. Okay, so you've got an overview of the demographics. what do you do with this? So what, right? I don't suggest that you as experience operators or experience providers could feasibly or reasonably optimize for price comparison and do a full sort of PR strategy for Germans and market on hotels and with airlines for Brits especially, and on 4 social media platforms for Americans, right? You don't need to do that because an OTA will do that for you. We have specific strategies in different markets to address all of that. But if you are wondering how to target specific cohorts of people, or you're looking to tweak your experience or your messaging to address specific languages or specific source markets, this is a really, really good place to start because it can help you understand what types of USPs, unique selling points, you push forward and what different markets need, right? So this is really basics of individual marketing strategy, okay? All right, so the second point, travel companions. They, in fact, are the biggest influencer of what experiences a traveler will book on a trip, right? It is a really, really important one, who you're there with, right? No matter your age, no matter your background, no matter your nationality or how much you earn, only the bravest and craziest of souls will take their 4- and 7-year-old on a full day wine tasting tour, right? You got to be bananas. But if you leave the kids at home and you're just with your partner, frankly, that's going to be the first thing I book, right? So again, the demographics have not changed, but the context has. So what you will see here immediately is that people traveling with their partners and people traveling with their families do way more stuff than solo travelers and friend trips, okay? So already there's an opportunity there. So looking a little bit closer now, what do we see? All right. So solo travelers, they do more workshops. That makes sense, right? It's a really good way to meet people. With kids, it's theme parks and leisure attractions. Also makes sense. Entertain the kids. With friends, it's walking tours right at the top. For me, that also makes sense, right? Because walking tours are financially accessible for everyone with different budgets. And they're a really easy way to still have a photo or a selfie with your mates and still speak with your friends while you're doing a tour. You can enjoy it all together. So all of this makes sense. Where is the so what for you? Where's the action item? Okay. There are 2 important things here that you should take away. First, find yourself on this chart. Identify the trip types that you're already popular with. So for example, if you are a leisure attraction, you're already attracting a lot of couples. Great. Lean in, right? So to give some examples, if you're an observation deck, launch a sunset time slot, ideal for proposals, right? If you're a museum, do you have a date night package with complimentary glass of champagne? Do you post romantic Instagram social reels? You can do all of those things to appeal more to the people who are already predisposed to come to you, right? So that's the first tip. The second tip is to do the exact opposite of what I just said. Think about the message that you are sending with your marketing materials and your content, right? If you're over-indexing, for example, already with family trips and kids, and all of your images include families with kids, and the message is, family friendly, and all of your pricing options are family pricing options, then the message that I am getting as a person without kids is, this is for kids. This activity isn't for me, right? So I think the key here is don't alienate people. You need to find ways to engage with your new audiences with the products that you already have and to give subtle and subliminal clues to different audiences. And this is about differentiation in marketing. So you can have one product, but still speak to multiple people depending on what types of messages that you send, okay? It's a really, really powerful way to differentiate. Now, the third factor, does the trip type influence how many experiences they do or which ones? Yes, in other words. It does impact activity preferences. And, there are some really, really common sense data points that come out here, right? It is unsurprising, for example, that day trips significantly over-index for international trips, as well as bus and boat tours, right? Why? Because when we're in another country, we probably don't understand how the local public transport system works, and we don't speak the language, right? Day trips, bus and boat trips, they solve those problems. Leisure attraction tickets, most popular for staycations, also makes sense. What do I do? How do I get my kicks in a place that I already know really well? For regional trips, they feature cultural monuments, right? Probably shorter trips, what can I do in a short period of time that shows me exactly how this place is different to the one that I come from? Great, that's all super clear. But again, I'm sure you're like, I know why you're showing me this very obvious data. Here, I encourage you to look at the white space. So someone who is not super familiar with data or using it all the time, they'd probably look at this and then stop there. But actually, you need to look at in-betweens. And that's where data turns into insights, right? Don't just focus on who's coming. Focus on who's not coming. Because that audience is going to be purely incremental, right? And as you also know, different trip types are great for filling different times of year. So mixing both, advanced and last minute spots, international with staycation, is a really good reason to focus on this, right? So give you some examples. If you're not top of mind for staycationers or for domestic travel, how might you speak to more locals? Your classic marketing calendar actually is a really good way to do this, right? Think about the events that locals tune into. Valentine's Day, Halloween, birthday celebrations, work parties, anniversaries. These things speak to locals year round, and they're really great ways to engage the people at your doorstep. If it's an international audience you're thinking about, then it's slightly different, right? There you're thinking more about language. You're thinking about accessibility, advanced availability, localized customer service, localized marketing tactics, go back to your profiles, financial options, like make sure that they can pay in their own currency, right? Like all of these things are really important. And again, being available, it's really key to do so right up until the moment for locals and international people who want to make that, that split second decision, but also well in advance. And that's where a partner like Zaui and also a partner like us can help you, because we can make sure that you're present on all of those touch points all year round, right? So think about marketing in terms of trip types in order to understand the audiences that you're currently underserving and serve them more, okay? Now, I've got a couple of bonus slides here because I think it's interesting. So I want to speak to you a little bit about drivers. And I know that we're a little bit tight on time, so I'm going to speed up. Don't worry, Victor and Sam, I've got you. Everything that I've shown today is all about like trends, okay? All about behaviors. And behaviors don't change with the exception of during COVID. They stay really stable for a really long time. Customers like the convenience of booking online. They use OTAs to research. They choose certain things when they go traveling with their kids. These aren't trends, these are truths. So everything that I've showed you today should comprise 80% of your marketing strategy. It informs, honestly, 80% of ours, right? And we spend millions and millions and millions of euros a year doing it. That is what you need to get right. And then there are trends. This is the cherry on the cake. This is the way to stay fresh. This is the way to cut through the noise. So we did a bit of social listening, and here are the things we found. 3 most interesting things, I think. First, mentions and posts about solo female travel had increased by 66% over the last 2 years. Interesting. I also know from complementary research, by the way, that women are the people who do most of the planning. My partner would agree. And also, this is from Arrival research, that 2/3 of guides are men. Okay. So can we, for example, highlight more customer-facing women? Can you hire more guides? Can you emphasize safety? Can you show more imagery of women travelers online? Can you launch a product that talks about the history of women in your destination? Can you instruct your guides to ask solo female travelers at the beginning of the tour to let them know if everything's okay and that they have an ally, right? There are lots of things you can do here. You don't really need to change much in terms of your operations. Second trend, photography. This is with a camera, right? Not just an iPhone. So this is increased by 80% over the past 24 months. For tours, can you repackage an existing tour as a photo tour? Can you label something as an Instagram tour of XYZ? How can you highlight the times of day where you get the best photos, i.e. when there are less people and, you know, at sunset, sunrise? For attractions, how can you work, for example, with the biggest bloggers or influencers to create like a listicle about all the Instagrammable places there are to see in your attraction, right? These are all good ways to target photographers. And finally, sorry, I'm talking at speed, so I realize time's an issue. This is a big one, packages. In the experience world, this translates to multi-day trips. Posts about packages have increased by a factor of 15 in the past 24 months. This is massive. So, you know, think about how to bundle your product with other complementary products. And it doesn't need to be 5 days. It can be 2 days, right? And the beauty of multi-package tours is that a 1-day tour, you can charge more than double for a 2-day tour because the perceived value is actually much higher. So there are really good margins in multi-day package tours. So in closing, what do? The customer is super simple, right? Essentially, they want a truly unforgettable experience that they'll carry with them for life. Go beyond the baseline, delight, surprise, tell people why you're different, right? This is the fundamental thing that people need. Make sure that you're everywhere because we are humans. But customers are also complex, right? So you've got to understand where people come from and what makes them tick. A German person will be looking for value. An American expects to be entertained, right? Go where they are. Second, understand how companions influence decisions and use this to subliminally speak to your audiences and differentiate your marketing tactics with that same product, right? Third, understand that incrementality is about finding and targeting people who aren't thinking about choosing you yet, and where they're going to have a big impact is where they plan to go, right? So your activity type isn't the obvious pick for locals or domestic visitors. Think about speaking to them more. And finally, think about the broader travel trends. You have to stay fresh. We're a meme-obsessed society. Cut through the noise and look for newness, because that will be something that will, spark people's attention. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing and hand over to Victor. He's going to tell you a little bit more about the technical stuff, about Zaui, about Get Your Guide, and how to connect the two. Thank you. It's been my pleasure to talk at you. I hope that was useful.
Thank you very much.
Victor,
Yeah, you did great. Thank you very much, Sam, leading the conference here. Victor here from Zaui. I have a few of my friends on the call. Nick from GYG is one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and just walk you through very briefly how to integrate Get Your Guide with Zaui. Just one moment here. Okay, so the integration with Get Your Guide is pretty straightforward.
Victor, just a quick thing. You're sharing the presentation. You're not sharing the other tab.
Okay, sorry. So I'm just going to, so once you want to integrate with, I'm just going to show you the demonstration here. So we want to go to marketplace.zoe.com. Just one moment here. And it's going to take you to this page. So right here, you're able to see some of our ongoing integrations. You're also able to see some of our biggest OTAs. Once you scroll down a little bit here, you can find Get Your Guide. Once you select Get Your Guide, you want to click on Add Channel. It's to your top left right here. So I'm just going to use a demonstrated name, Supplier Test System. And this would usually just, walk you through the cache, and you want to run it through. This would basically just take a few seconds here and it should populate. So this takes you to the Zaui portal. Right here is usually where, we're able to book activities and we're able to review the dashboard and, take a look at a lot of the data that's coming through with the integration with the resellers. Once we have this, right now it's currently enabled, but, part of the settings is you want to enable this channel. Once that's enabled, we come into the resellers menu right here, and we select channel partners. Once we do that, we're going to be coming into the search box right here, and we'll be searching for Get Your Guide. You select Get Your Guide. Again, we can see that it's already been enabled. Channel rules. So this is the technical aspect of it. This is essentially where we enable and create some rules as far as what we want to engage with. So right now, it's currently set up until 2028. So this is a 10-year frame. You don't always, have to set it that way, but you want to put it into the future. Usually we advise at least a year or two into the future. That way you don't have to come into the channel rules to reconfigure those rules every single time. The inventory, you can set, a percentage of your inventory as an amount there. And usually we do recommend allowing any activity to be sold, except there are very specific limitations that you would like to put in groups. Usually this is what the setup looks like. So once that's done, a member of our dev team or myself will just enable this on the back end. And, you will obviously get you to get some testing as far as creating bookings, canceling bookings, creating, cancellations for existing bookings, and just test it, make sure it's up and running. And it's very straightforward. From there, you are able to basically start getting resellers to use the system. That's pretty much it. If you do have, additional questions, we will be here to answer them. I think Sam will very much take the lead on that. So, yeah, Victor here. Let me know if you have any other questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Victor. And you can just share that presentation again, Victor.
Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, that was so much great information there. I've been in this industry for quite some time here, and the first time Anna presented that information, I was blown away because there's so much great information, so much great kind of insightful data there. So I hope you also found it just as insightful. And don't worry, we are going to be sharing the webinar, the recording here with everyone as well. So you'll be kind of getting that as well. And let's take a moment here and kind of go through the questions as well. I know we had quite a few questions come in, so we want to try to get through as many of them as we can.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually going to take, if it's fine, I just jump in and pick one. Yeah, I'm going to take Carlos's question. So Carlos answered, 80% photography trend is very interesting. Any possibility of getting more depth to this, such as what kind of tour characteristics are desired? Thank you for the question. What I can say is that within the social listening that we do, because essentially we're just silent observers, we can't specifically ask, okay, what about photography, or what specifically would you like on a photography tour? So that's just the disclaimer, but I can answer with experience and my best guess. So I'm going to try to do that for you. I think what people want in general is the opportunity to help them experience something that they can't find for themselves, right? And I think therein lies the tension of going on a tour. So if you have someone who takes delight in the joy of, spontaneous discovery, but then feels like they're just, and I'm using inverted commas here, doing a tour that everyone else is going to do, and they're going to see exactly the same things, they feel like, okay, well, where's that special factor? Where's the magic happening in that? And so I would say that the type of photography tour that would be really interesting would be, firstly, something that takes them to a place where they can't necessarily find themselves. So this is hidden spots, right? And I would be very, very explicit about that in a description. So we will give you access to places that are either very hard to find or that aren't possible to be accessed alone. So one example could be, I was actually speaking with a supplier about this in Arrival in San Diego recently. They have a lot of tours in Dumbo in New York, and there are there's not much to see in Dumbo except for sort of that famous street and the bridge, but there are a lot of people around there. And he's like, all right, well, what can I do to cut through the noise? And I'm like, one idea could be working with local businesses to say, hey, we would like to actually come through with a small group, and we want you, for example, so there's a famous pizza restaurant in Dumbo. We want to come by your restaurant at a not popular or busy time for you, and we would love for you to open the doors to show these 5 or 7 people in, and we would be taking a photo, we'd be taking 5 minutes, and then we'll get out of your way and I'll give you a cut, right? Or we'll make sure to buy, 5 slices of pizza or whatever it is. So it's that kind of access that people wouldn't be able to get alone. And I think the other angle might be to have a tour guide who is a little bit fluent with photography, right? So not just we'll take you on a tour and like show you nice places to photograph, but we'll take you on a tour through like with a photographer or with someone who does this, either as, professionally or maybe as a, an advanced hobby. And that way you can say, see the city or see my destination through the lens of a photographer. So I think they're 2 interesting angles, and that way you're giving them something that they couldn't necessarily do themselves. Carlos, I hope that answers your question. It was very long-winded. I'm sorry. Maybe Victor, if you want to ask any. Okay, so questions. What's the best way to request a mapping change for a channel partner? This one I think is a maybe Zaui question.
Yeah, so a question here that came through was how can integrating Zaui's booking software enhance the ability to kind of meet the expectation of travelers, specifically modern ones? So there's quite a few different tools that are available inside Zaui that's going to help you manage this relationship you'll have with online travel agencies such as GetYourGuide. So first and foremost, if you don't have a reservation system, I saw from the poll there was quite a few of you that actually don't have reservation systems. That managing that relationship is probably quite a challenge because you got to manage the inventory, you got to make sure there's no overbooking, and you got to make sure there's no double booking. And that's kind of what Zaui will do. We'll create an inventory pool for you. So now from this inventory pool, you're going to sell right through your website. You're going to sell through all your other reseller channels like local agencies, hotels, and whatnot. And then also we're going to feed that inventory to online travel agencies like TripAdvisor, Advisor, and GetYourGuide here. So yeah, so it's just going to really simplify that process for you, and it's really going to essentially just save time. That's really the main goal there. It's just going to save time, and it's going to make it a lot easier when it comes to those administrative tasks there. So yeah, so we do have quite a few questions here. Is there anything else here that you'd like to kind of answer, Anna?
Sorry, I'm just looking. Alrighty, so I've got what marketing strategies are most effective in attracting international travelers? Okay, I think I covered a little bit of this in the presentation. Honestly, I think the key here really is language. If you think about people in the discovery phase, the discovery phase is really critical, right? So a lot of you will know that I would say around 48% says data of bookings happen in destination, which also means that 50% don't happen in destination, so they happen in advance, which is significant. But the booking is inherently different to the discovery piece and the inspiration piece. And that happens in your own language, right? You don't research and browse and make plans and coordinate with your travel partners in your non-native language. So I think being present and making sure that you do have this presence trans-created is really, really key. And then I think the other thing is stuff that I just mentioned in the presentation, right? So making sure that you understand the social particularities of the people that you want to talk to, and addressing that in your marketing. So if value is a top concern for Germans, then use the word value in your messaging. If entertainment is something that resonates with Americans, then really drive up the entertainment factor. Make sure you're using video because that's the way that they're preferring to discover. So I think that is probably, my answer there.
And keep in mind, so after this, we are going to share a recording of this. We're going to share the slides and everything with you all as well. We're also going to share our email addresses, and I'll also make sure I have my meeting link there as well. So if you have any other questions, or if you have want to kind of dig into specific topics here, please feel free to book me for a call. I'd be more than happy to jump into that call with you and kind of dig into whatever you'd like to see. But yeah, so with that, that does conclude our webinar here. I just want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to join us in this webinar. I really hope you enjoyed it. And I also want to thank Anna for taking time out of her evening to provide us this invaluable set of information. Thank you so much, Anna. And yeah, so that's everything for today. Thank you so much. And we'll send that email out to you. I hope you all have a fantastic day.